go to Jiffy Lube. Kwik Kar, Valvoline Instant Oil Change, Mike's Oil Service. This could cost you thousands of dollars. I'll show you why and how you can change your oil yourself. Hola! I'm Mike, the backyard mechanic, and this is my car. Now, are you having your oil changed at a quick change oil area? If so, you're possibly paying twice as much as doing it yourself and risking damage done to your car due to inexperienced teenagers making only $10 an hour. But hey, they get a paid vacation after 5 years of service, and they're offered 401ks. If I was 18 making $10 an hour, that's where I'd put my money. I've had a few friends over the years tell me oil bar horror stories and their oil leaking out as they drive down the street. But it hit close to home recently as my son had his oil changed at Firestone. Yes, Backyard Mechanic Jr. was paying to have his oil changed. He's learned his lesson. Firestone made him wait 5 hours before they were finished. I guess they needed a few hours to find the parts they lost. Honda Civics have a belly pan. No, that's Peter Pan. That's belly pane. Yes, that. Also known as an aero pan or a splash pan. This has to be removed to access the drain plug in the oil filter. To replace it, you need to put in 8 special fasteners. The Firestone Oil Bazaar put in 2 of them. As my son was driving to his friend's house, this pan vibrated loose. By the time he got to the highway, it dropped down and started dragging on the road in a glorious display of sparks. We managed to get him home safely. This is what the belly pan looked like when I got it off. I hammered it flat and put it back on with zip ties and wire. I got new fasteners since then, and we'll be putting those on in the future. And do it right. Even if the job is done right, which I would guess is 95% of the time, there are other reasons not to use an oil buffet. They use cheap oil and cheap filters. Although granted, most of the time, for most cars, an oil change with cheap oil is better than no oil change. But that is beside the fact that they will try to upsell you or downright lie about your car's maintenance needs. An air filter, cabin filter, and your brakes. Your brakes are so bad we can't believe you made it here safely. But hey, maybe you actually need a new air filter. But maybe they don't have one for your car, but they already sold you one at 300% markup. They might find one that is close and make it fit. The Firestone Oil Cafe told my son he needed front tires. You can feel the wear bar. He has like 20,000 miles left on those tires. Here are a list of things that can go wrong and can severely damage your vehicle. Double gasket. This is when the old filter gasket is stuck to the engine block. Over-tightened gasket. This squishes the gasket and causes it to leak. Strip drain plug. A new oil pan can cost you $1,000 in parts and labor. Loose drain plug. Leaking oil. Draining the trans fluid by mistake. You may find yourself driving with no trans fluid. Your car will start acting up, warning lights will come on, but you'll think to yourself, I just had the oil changed. And you did, but it's all over the road. Your recourse? They are trained to deny everything. However, if you notice your engine light on right away, shut your vehicle off and call the oil carnival and have them tow it back and correct the problem. If the problem is serious, call a mechanic and have it towed to a garage where they can diagnose what went wrong and determine fault. You may have to go to court. Court is fun! My brother worked at an oil bistro in the 1980s. He told me how he once cross-threaded an oil filter on a Cadillac Eldorado. The Cadillac got its free car wash, pulled out into the road, leaving a thick trail of oil before it got very far, and boom! The owner had to pay for a new engine. What happened to my brother? Nothing. He was still in training. Costs of doing business. So where should you take your car? The dealership is an option. The dealer is often competitive with all oil-o-ramas. They know your car won't make stupid mistakes. They know how to put on a belly pan. but a dealer might take more of your day, and they'll also look for upsells. Of course, if you already have a mechanic you can trust, anybody can change oil. What am I talking about? I'm Mike, the backyard mechanic. You should do it yourself. To change your oil, here are the necessary tools: jack and stands or ramps, box wrench for the drain plug, tools for a stubborn oil filter, drain pan and splash pan, large and medium funnels, paper towels, and nitrile gloves. To jack up your car, ensure your car is in park or in gear, the emergency brake is on, and put a chalk block behind a wheel. Find the right place to jack up your car. Most cars have a subframe you can use. Otherwise, there is reinforced folded metal right under the door that is for the scissor jack in your trunk. Expect that the back wheel will also lift up, so the chalk block should be on the opposite side where you start. Place the jack stand under the subframe or the K-member, which is the frame under the engine. Repeat for the other side. This will get both back wheels on the floor. Give the vehicle a good push to ensure it's stable so you feel confident crawling underneath. You need an oil pan to catch the oil, but I also highly recommend a splash pan. Because I'm such a mess, it's impossible for me to keep oil off the floor without it. The drain plug is at the bottom of the oil pan, usually pointing to the back of the car. Find the correct wrench. For the Mustang, it's a 13mm. There's a trick to stay clean where you unscrew the drain plug all the way and hold it in place, then pull it out quickly. This depends on the smoothness of the threads and only works for me once in a while. Use nitrile gloves because you should expect to get oil on your hands. Keep a roll of paper towels nearby to wipe off your hands or the ground. Let this drain for about 5 minutes. Wipe the surface around the drain hole, wipe the drain plug, and replace it. Torque settings can vary from 10 to 60 foot-pounds depending on the size of the drain plug and the type of washer. Position the pan under the oil filter. It should be tight enough to where you can loosen it by hand with a bit of dad muscle. If not, refer to the various oil filter wrenches to assist you here. There are TikTok videos to show the idea of using a solo cup to keep this step cleaner. I don't have a solo cup, so I'm about to make a mess. The key here is that as oil covers the filter, it will get slippery. Be careful not to drop it, especially not into the pan full of oil. That will make a big mess. Ask me how I know. Empty the filter into the oil pan, then put it in the new oil filter box with a paper towel to keep it from leaking. Wipe off the surface where the filter mounts. Ensure the gasket came off with the filter. Use a bit of oil on the new gasket to soften it. Install the filter hand tight. The rule of thumb is to spin it on until it stops, then a quarter turn more. Using a funnel, put the new oil in the engine. You can check your service manual for the type, or just use what it says on the oil cap. I always do what oil caps tell me to do. Also check the service manual for the amount of oil. The Mustang takes 5 quarts of oil, but the 6-cylinder Lexus takes a whopping 7 quarts of oil. Using the same funnel, or better a larger funnel, put the used oil into the new oil container. I used the car to help me keep it steady, but a helper would be good here. You wouldn't want to tip this over. And you're done. Lower your car, remove the chalk block. It's a good idea at this point to check the oil level with a dipstick. Start up the car, check for leaks. If the system in your car tracks the oil change frequency, remember to reset this. You'll have to Google it. Every car is different. Sometimes it's as easy as pressing a few buttons, like on the Mustang. Other times it's a series of button presses, key turns, timing, and codes that feels like you're breaking into a safe at the Bellagio. Dispose of the oil properly. I throw the filter and used oil into my neighbor's yard. Kidding. I put it in a corner of the garage. After a few years, my wife yells at me to take my pile of oil and filters to the auto parts store for recycling. Most cars are very similar to these steps, but check your service manual for nuances. I'd estimate about 10% of cars have something more advanced to the oil change, usually to do with the filter. For example, the Mini Cooper needs a 32mm socket to remove the filter. In some cars and trucks, you need to access the oil filter through the wheel well, and others, as in the Honda Civic, have covers that need to be removed. Changing your oil is a good way to get more familiar with your car, give yourself a sense of satisfaction, and potentially lead to other maintenance you can do. Like painting your calipers red. A word of caution though, all the mistakes that Oil R Us makes, you can make too. I've dropped slippery oil filters as I've taken them off and made a mess, and I've over-tightened them where they leak. So how often should you change your oil? Don't be fooled into thinking it's every 3,000 miles. Newer engines and advancements in oil technology means the oil lasts a lot longer. 5,000, 10,000, even 20,000 miles in some cases. Check your manual. Hey, I'm a fan online. Hey fan, did this video help?
Why am I wasting my time with this? I have an electric car. I'm better than you.
Thanks, fan. If you need more help working on your own car, you might consider asking ChatGPT. But before you do, watch this video to see how that interaction went for me. Don't let that opportunity slip away. Hun!
I have my own problems to deal with.